there, and welcome to Lost in Literature. It's been a while since I've put up anything here because I was a bit under weather. So, anyway, here I am back with something useful for you, a bit of grammar, and I'll try to make it as interesting as possible for you. And the other thing is Julius Caesar. I'm quite fed up of Julius Caesar, and I thought a break with grammar would do us all a world of good before I go back to Act 2 in Julius Caesar, right? So here we go. And today I'm going to take up um, transformations in grammar. You know that it's a major part of your ICSE language paper, and it carries about 8 marks. So you really have to know it well and score the entire 8 marks, because that'll really hitch up your scores. So let's take a look at it. Transformation one. What I'm planning to do today is to take up two, to remove two from a particular sentence and rewrite it again using so that. Now, basically, as you know, transformation is a way of changing the form of a sentence without changing the meaning. And that's where your knack lies. All right? So let's take up three sentences and see how, this works. The first one: Rinku drove too fast for the police to catch. So now here we have to remove the adverb of degree to, all right? And then we have to rewrite it using so that. Now, a few changes take place in the form of the sentence. Then we'll go on to that in a bit of detail. So, this would transform into: Rinku drove so fast that the police could not catch her. So, there you are. Rinku drove too fast for the police to catch. So you have the adverb to, and then you also have the infinitive to catch, for the police to catch her. And then when it is transformed, you have so that, so fast that the police could not catch her. So here you have the introduction of another verb: could not catch her. All right? So that is what is happening. In fact, the second sentence has changed into an adverb clause. All right, let's look at the next sentence. Velu is too proud to ask for a favor. Right now, Velu is too proud. He's too proud to ask for a favor. So if they tell you to remove two, then naturally you have to remove two. And then they may tell you rewrite with so that. So this is how you transform it. Velu is so proud that he will not ask for a favor. Now, what you have done is, in the second sentence, you have introduced Velu with the pronoun he, and then you have a modal here. He will not ask, a modal verb. He will not ask for a favor. So you have introduced a verb, all right, and changed the pattern of the sentence. All right, let's go on to the third example here. Dina speaks too fast to be understood. She speaks too fast, all right, to be understood. All right, now again, too fast, too is an adverb, and they may tell you to remove to in your paper. To be understood. Once again, that is a form of the infinitive. And now, how would you change that into a sentence using so that? Dina speaks so fast that she cannot be understood. All right, that she, again a pronoun, cannot be understood. You have again introduced a verb because in the first sentence you have a kind of infinitive. It is a grammatical term. Infinitive is a grammatical term for to plus verb. All right? So Dina speaks too fast to be understood. Remove to, and Dina speaks so fast that she cannot be understood. So in all these three sentences, you have noted that you have basically noted that when you change it, you remove to, and you write with so that, you are actually using a clause. In fact, an adverbial clause. I'll take up the clauses in detail later on, but the first thing for you to note here is the use of non-finite verbs. So, what are these non-finite verbs and finite verbs? What the hell are they? Okay, we know transitive verb, we know all that. All right, but what is finite and non-finite, for God's sake? Now I'm going a little deep into this topic so that, as you transform a sentence, you know exactly what you're doing. All right, so we'll take up finites and non-finite verbs in detail. Finite verbs are verbs that can be changed with a tense. It is controlled by the use of tense. Tense, as you know, shows the past time, the present time, and the future time. So, a finite verb is basically a verb which contains the tense. For example, I build houses. So that's what I do for a living. I build houses. You have build here in the present tense, and you can change the tense. For instance, you can say, I built houses in the past. So you've changed build to built, past tense. And you can also change it to future. And how do you do that? I will build houses. I will build. I'll certainly build them. All right? So that's how you have expressed time using the tense. And this is possible only with finite verbs. In fact, the word finite itself means to limit something. And here, these verbs are kind of controlled, limited by tenses. Their scope is limited. All right? Now, let's look at non-finite verbs. Basically, non-finite verbs do not contain tense. They don't contain tense at all. Take, for instance, I mean, they're not controlled by tense. Take, for instance, the example here, I like building houses. Now, if you notice, I have highlighted building houses. You cannot change the tense of building, whereas you can change the tense of like, because like is a finite verb. I liked building houses in the past. Okay, I liked building houses in the past, but I no longer like it. And then in the future, oh, I will like building houses, no doubt about it. Oh, yes, in the future, I will like, I'll continue to like, all right, building houses. So you cannot change the tense in the word building, whereas like can undergo a tense change. So basically, non finite verbs cannot be subjected to tense change, whereas finite verbs do undergo tense changes. So, this is what it is. Now, let me relate it to what we did earlier, transformation 1. Rinku drove too fast for the police to catch. So the tense is contained only in drove, because you can change, you know, the verb. You can say, Rinku drives too fast for the police to catch. And again, it is for the police to catch. To catch here is an infinitive. You cannot change the tense of an infinitive, which is basically a to plus verb. Okay, to plus verb. To eat, to drink, to dance, to sing, they're all infinitives. Okay, so that is what you notice in the very first sentence. Okay, there is only one finite verb. Now, what happens when you change it to Rinku drove so fast that the police could not catch her? Now, if you notice, there are two parts to this sentence. All right? Because you have introduced a clause. Rinku drove so fast. To has been replaced by so. She drove so fast that the police could not catch her. Now, what is happening here? That the police could not catch her is a dependent adverbial clause. All right? And that is exactly what you have done. In the second sentence, you have introduced a clause where you can change the verb could not catch her. You can say the police cannot catch her. The police will not be able to catch her. So there you are. A tense change is possible, which means the second sentence has two finite verbs. All right? So that is how. And it also has the clause, the adverbial clause has its own subject and predicate again. All right? So this is the difference that you have brought about. But is there any change in meaning? No. You have kept the meaning intact. Now, since I have started with finites and non-finites, I thought this would be a good time to tell you that there are basically four kinds of non-finite verbs. Now, finite verbs, as you know, they're only of one kind and you can change the tense. But there are four kinds of non-finite verbs. What are they? The first one is called the present participle, and that is verb plus ing. Okay, like running, jumping, smiling. Okay, so many of those. And I've given an example here so that you can easily understand. I am not a walking, talking dictionary. All right? You you cannot change. Look, am can be changed. I am. It's a contraction for I am. I'm. Am can be changed to was. I was never a walking, talking dictionary. I can also change it to future. I will never be a walking, talking dictionary. But here, can you try changing walking, talking? You cannot, for instance, say, I'm not a walked, talked dictionary. That would be utterly wrong. Do you get the difference? That's the that's the best way you can find out what a finite or a non-finite verb is, just subjected to a tense change. Now, the second non-finite form is the past participle. And past participle, as you know, or definitely by now you should know, is verb plus ed or maybe t, ed, as in the case of smiled, t as in the case of burnt, and en as in the case of broken. They're all past participles, all right? But they are used in this different manner here. Look at the example. My mother served me burnt toast in a cracked plate. God forbid that. So, served is the finite verb. You can change the tense there, but you cannot change the tense of burnt or cracked. If you notice, burnt, cracked, walking, talking, they're all basically the verb versions of walk, talk, burn, crack. And yet they are used as an adjective here. They describe some object. So that's the beauty of present participle and past participle. All right? Okay, now the third kind of non finite verb is the infinitive. I told you sometime about the infinitive. To plus verb. To swim, to dance, to enjoy oneself. They're all infinitives. Okay? You cannot change the tense there. Again, the fourth kind of finite form is the gerund. For example, I love swimming. Now, swimming is verb plus ing. Right? Again, the verb has been used with a difference. Verb plus ing. But it's not really a verb. It's acting as a noun. And as you know, a noun is the name of something. Something, a place, a thing, an animal. All right, so it can be replaced with a pronoun like something or it. So when you use a gerund, you can always replace the gerund with something or it, and it would still make grammatical sense. For instance, I love something. So there you are. Something acts, in the place of swimming, the noun. This is a pronoun. Something is an indefinite pronoun. All right? So basically, these are the four kinds of non finite verbs. Um, while we are about it, I would like to go on to simple, compound, and complex sentences. All right? It's quite important for you to understand how these sentences are classified into simple, compound, and complex. So let's look at it a little bit in detail. Let me take up simple sentence first. You have an example here. I went to the market to buy apples. Now this is a simple sentence. Why? Firstly, it contains only one finite verb. Yeah, point it out to yourself. You're right. Went is the only finite verb here. And we can subject it to a tense. So, I go to the market to buy apples. All right? I will go to the market to buy apples, suggesting future time. But which is the non-finite form here? To buy. Non-finite. You cannot change to buy. So basically, in a simple sentence, all we have done is to use one finite verb. All right? So it's a simple sentence. Keep it in your mind. Just one finite verb. And if there is another sentence, you join it, combine it with the first sentence using a non-finite form, which is no tense. So that's the trick of it. All right. Now what happens with compound sentences? Example, I went to the market and bought apples. Basically, this sentence contains two parts, and both are independent parts. For instance, I went to the market, and the second sentence being, I bought apples. So, a compound sentence has two equal parts, and both the parts contain finite verbs. For instance, went is finite verb and bought is also a finite verb because you can change the tense. All right? And here is a coordinating conjunction. Invariably, you use coordinating conjunctions when you're combining two independent parts. Both the sentences can stand on their own. They are not dependent on another sentence. For instance, I can say I went to the market. I can say I bought apples. Now, how have we combined it? We have used and, which is a coordinating conjunction. All right? And the easiest way for us to identify and use coordinating conjunction is to use fanboys. You will find fanboys sprinkled all over the grammar scene. So, if you remember fanboys, it's very easy for you to use your coordinating conjunction. So, let me just tell you what each letter of fanboys stand for. F here stands for for. I didn't go to school for I was sick. A here stands for and. N here stands for nor. B here stands for but. O here stands for or. And Y here stands for yet. And finally, S stands for so. So if you remember fanboys, automatically you get a coordinating conjunction to join two parts of a sentence into a compound sentence. All right? So it's that simple. Let's just go on to complex sentences. Complex sentences, ironically enough, though they are called complex sentences, they're not that complex. Honestly, they are simple because here you have the sentence divided into two parts again, but one part can stand independently. And in the example here, I went to the market so that I could buy apples. So I went to the market can stand independently. So it's the main clause, the independent clause. And what about the second part? So that I could buy apples. So that I could buy apples cannot stand by itself. Therefore, it is a dependent or subordinate clause. Right? As simple as that. And how do we combine these two sentences? Again, very simple. We combine these two sentences using subordinating conjunction. That's how we introduce sentences with clauses. Right? For instance, you introduce a noun clause with that. I'm just telling you very briefly about it. And when you have an adjective clause, you will find that which can be replaced with which, and you'll find which, whose, um, whom, all these featuring in the adjective clause. And very simple. All the other, when you have taken care of noun clause and adjective clause, then it's very simple for you to identify the adverb clause, which is sure to contain some form of adverb or the other. So that is it. I hope you found it helpful. I hope you found it easy enough. Actually, grammar is fun, you know. It's more like maths. I enjoy grammar. Of course, I'm no good at maths, but there's something so logical about grammar. I quite like it. I hope you like it too, because I'll be back with a number of other transformations which will really ace up your scores, because that's what happens to all the students, ICSE students I coach. Okay, I hope that the same transformation takes place in you, and you will really score high. Now, if you liked the way I taught grammar, don't hesitate to put a like, because I really love likes. And leave a comment below. What are some of the topics that you would like me to deal with? Do leave a comment below. All right? And remember to subscribe to my channel. Thanks so much, and do turn up again next week.